where software quality lives, breathes, and keeps evolving.
Welcome to the Quality Beat podcast. Today, we're talking about something many organizations often overlook. Now, we spend a lot of effort securing applications, APIs, and cloud platforms, but what about the automation frameworks that access those systems every day? Can a test automation framework become a part of your attached service? To explore that question, I'm joined by Birbal, Tahim, and Manisha Mittal. So welcome to the show, both.
Thank you. Thank you, Gurpreet. Happy to be here.
Thank you for having us, Gurpreet. Looking forward to the discussion.
It's great to have you. And as usual, let's get started with a quick fire round. So before we jump into security, I've just got a few questions for you. First off, when you're not working on testing and automation, what do you enjoy doing?
I enjoy reading about emerging technologies, especially AI and cybersecurity. I also like long walks because that's usually when I get my best ideas.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think I enjoy spending time with my family and reading some stuff. And it helps me disconnect from work and get recharge.
Absolutely. Always helps to have something that re-inspires you. Next question then. If you could automate one thing in your personal life, what would it be?
Definitely for me, household tasks. I wish there were a reliable automation framework to take care of them every day.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say filtering unnecessary meetings from my calendar. That would save a lot of time.
Both very valid points there. And finally, what's one security habit everyone should adopt immediately?
I think stops storing passwords in plain text. It's surprising how often that still happens.
Mm-hmm.
And also enabling this multi-factor authentication whenever possible.
Yeah, it's very surprising that this isn't happening at the minute. Okay, and that sets us up perfectly. So let's start with the big question then. Most teams focus on application security first. Why should quality engineers also think about securing the automation framework itself?
Mm-hmm. So automation frameworks interact nearly with every part of the software ecosystem. They connect to various like APIs, databases, cloud services, and even CI/CD pipelines, credentials. So while organizations invest heavily in securing their applications, but mostly the automation ecosystem that supports them is often overlooked. So I have seen organizations with mature security programs discovering that their automation frameworks had been exposing sensitive information through logs, reports, and these test artifacts without anyone realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say at that point, the automation framework is no longer just a testing tool. It has become an attack surface of its own.
Absolutely. And just wondering, Birbal, if you could add to this, was there a moment where this actually became a reality for you?
Yes, actually, there was one incident that really changed how I think about the automation security. During an internal audit, we have discovered that our automation framework was logging complete API responses. Those logs contain things like account number, transaction IDs, and other sensitive customer information as well. The interesting part was that the application itself was completely secure. That wasn't a vulnerability in the product. The problem was in our testing framework.
Right.
It wasn't a penetration test that found it. It was a routine internal audit. We fixed it in just few hours, but what surprised everyone was that this issue had quietly existed for almost 2 years. That was the moment I realized that automation frameworks can create a security risk of their own if we don't treat them like production softwares.
Yeah, certainly. And when you review an automation framework, then um, where do the biggest security risks usually appear? Over to you, Manisha.
So I would say hard-coded credentials. So
Mhm.
despite all the awareness programs and trainings that in the organization, we still find usernames, passwords, tokens, and API keys which are directly embedded in the automation code. So teams usually do this, I think, because it is quick and convenient. It helps the teams move faster and get things working. But the real challenge comes later, and those secrets can easily find their way into the source code, repositories, logs, or backups.
Mm.
And once a secret makes its ways into this source control, removing it is not as simple as deleting a line of code. So it may already exist in our commit history or in copies or the other systems, and making the exposure much harder to contain.
Yeah, it does sound like a huge challenge, and it really sounds like you need to start with the end in mind. So, like you said, when teams are often developing things, they need to kind of have this in the back of their minds. It's surprising that it's this common, but what makes it so difficult to eliminate then? Birbal, could you speak to this?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to convenience. During development or testing, people often hardcode the credential just to get things working quickly. And they simply forget they are there, right? We have seen cases where production API keys were accidentally committed to source control, even if someone deletes the file later. Those secrets usually remain in the Git history unless you clean it up properly.
Mhm.
The real problem is when the same credentials are reused across multiple environments. At that point, one exposed secret is not just one issue. It can potentially open the door to the several systems, right?
Mhm.
The good news is that this is a well understood problem. We already have the right solution using environment variables, storing secrets in dedicated secret management platform, running automated secret scanning as part of CI/CD, and rotating credentials regularly. So it is rarely a technology problem anymore. More often, it is about following good engineering practices consistently.
Definitely. And another idea there that you've mentioned is logging, right? So why do logs and reports specifically become such a security problem?
So, Gurpreet, the problem is not logging itself. I think the problem is logging more than we actually need.
Hmm.
And during investigations, we have found that teams often add these debugging statements to get deeper visibility into what is happening.
Right.
So now the challenge is that these statements are sometimes left behind even after the issue is resolved. So we have seen over the time, framework may start capturing sensitive information such as authentication tokens, you can say request headers, customer identifiers, and maybe full API responses also.
Right.
So the bigger risk now is what happens next. So
Mm.
these logs are copied into, you see, reports, dashboards, or the shared folders also. And this allows sensitive data to spread far beyond the original system.
Mm-hmm.
And a simple debugging practice can unintentionally, I would say, become a major security exposure in our frameworks.
Yeah, it could end up in the wrong hands as well. And have you actually seen this happen before then?
Yes, I came across a case where a team was publishing automation reports to a shared portal for stakeholders. And these reports looked harmless, but they contained these API responses with sensitive business information. Though their production system themselves had strong access controls and security measures in place, but you see, the reporting portal where the automation results were shared, they did not have the same level of protection. So in this situation, what happens? The automation framework become the weakest link in an secure environment. So this is why we want to emphasize that report security cannot be treated as an afterthought. Automation reports, I'm just repeating, automation reports, logs, and test artifacts, they need to be protected with the same level of rigor as the applications and the systems they support.
Right, and it's not just logs that we're talking about anymore, right? Because a lot of the modern frameworks, they tend to generate screenshots, videos, and traces.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that many teams don't even think about. A failed screenshot might reveal customer information, internal URL, database identifier, and even the environmental details. These artifacts often get attached to tickets shared over the emails and archived in cloud storage. Over time, they end up being accessible to far more people than originally intended. Most teams never review them from a security perspective because they are seen as just the test artifacts. The safest approach is to use the synthetic data wherever possible and automatically sanitize reports before publishing or sharing them. It's a small step, but it can significantly reduce the risk of exposing sensitive information.
Absolutely. And we've talked about credentials and reports. So I'm just curious, are there any other areas that are often overlooked?
Yeah, definitely there are some areas. It's something that's often overlooked. Organizations usually scan their application dependency, but forget to do the same for their automation dependency. We have seen Selenium libraries, REST clients, reporting tools, and utility packages running with known vulnerabilities for years, simply because nobody was monitoring them. At the end of the day, an automation framework is still a software. It needs to be maintained and secured just like any other application. It deserves the same vulnerability management process as the application itself.
And another one you mentioned, right, is permissions. Now, why do automation accounts so often end up with administrative access?
I can take this up. So it usually starts with something simple, convenience, I would say. A test fails because the automation account does not have those sufficient permissions. So to get things moving quickly, someone grants the admin access. So one test passes and the issue is resolved and everyone moves on.
Right.
So the problem here is that these temporary decisions often become permanent. So over time, automation accounts accumulate far more privileges than they actually need. And you say this creates unnecessary risk because if those credentials are ever compromised, an attacker could gain access to much more than required. And the principle of least privilege applies to automation just as much as it applies to applications and users.
Yeah, and we hear about this often, right? Just for testing purposes, you provide that administrative access, and obviously it allows you to actually test whether what you've developed does in fact work. But what would you say the better approach would be here then?
Let me take this. So it starts with applying the principle of least privileges. Give your automation only the minimum access it needs and add permissions only when there's a genuine business or technical need. It's also a good practice to use separate accounts for different environment instead of sharing the same credentials everywhere. Right? Review permission regularly. Don't forget to rotate the automation credential just as you do for the production credentials. Right? One mistake I often see is treating automation account as a special exception. They shouldn't be. From a security perspective, they deserve the same level of governance as any other privileged account.
Yes, and you mentioned a really good point there where you should have separate accounts for different environments, because often what you see is the same account used for many different things, and with that it means that they have elevated permissions because you're doing different things across those environments, let's say. Now let's move on. So AI is rapidly becoming a major part of test automation. We are hearing it time and time again. Is it introducing completely new security risks, or is it mainly amplifying the existing ones that we've discussed today? Over to you, Manisha.
Yes, AI creates an entirely new attack surface now. So teams are using AI for, let's take some examples like for test generation, for defect analysis, for requirement interpretation, self-healing automations. But many don't realize what data they are sending to the external models. And the sensitive information can leave these organizational boundaries without anyone noticing.
Right. And could you elaborate on the most significant AI-related risks? Any that come to mind immediately?
Yes, three risks that stands out that is coming in my mind right now. The first is, I would say, the sensitive data, which is being shared with external AI services without the proper controls. And the second is AI-generated code, which is being introduced into the applications without going through the same security reviews as the traditionally written code.
Right.
And the third one, which I would say right now, is the prompt injection, where malicious and or the untrusted content can influence the model behavior, and it potentially leads to the unintended actions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say AI should not be treated as an exception to security practices. It needs to follow the same governance, review, and the security standards as any other technology integrated into the software development lifecycle.
And that's a very good point you mentioned there, because I feel like with the use of AI, that the feedback loop, or let's say you're able to turn it around a lot quicker, and with that you tend to skip steps just to push it out a lot sooner. Now, suppose a team is listening today and they realize that they haven't looked at their automation framework from a security perspective. What's the first thing they should do tomorrow to address this? Over to you, Birbal.
Yeah. So I would keep it simple. Start with the three things. First and the foremost thing, remove any hard-coded credentials from your framework and move them to a secure secret management solution.
Right.
Second, audit your logging and reporting practices. Make sure you are not accidentally exposing sensitive information in logs, screenshots, or test reports. And the third thing is, scan your automation dependencies for unknown known vulnerabilities and make it part of your regular maintenance process.
Mm-hmm.
Those three activities alone can eliminate a significant portion of the most common security risks in any automation framework. It is a great starting point, and from there, you can build a more mature security strategy.
Certainly, those are some really good quick wins that can be achieved. And just to go into that a bit further, right? What does good look like once an organization becomes mature?
For me, a mature automation framework is one where security is built in from the beginning rather than added as an afterthought.
Yeah.
It includes secure secret management, controlled permissions, continuous dependency monitoring, sanitized reporting, secure AI uses policies, and regular security audits.
Right.
But more importantly, it's not just about the tools or process. Security becomes part of the team everyday engineering practices. It's simply the way they build, test, and maintain their automation, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. And looking ahead, where do you see this space evolving? Manisha, could you speak to this?
Yeah, sure. So we are moving towards a new generation of security-aware automation platforms. And the future of these automation frameworks is not just about executing the tests faster.
Mm-hmm.
So these platforms will become intelligent enough to identify any risk patterns. They detect the exposed secrets and highlight insecure dependencies, or maybe automatically enforce the governance policies.
Mm.
So I would say the security will no longer be a separate checkpoint added at the end of the process, as Birbal just mentioned. It will become an integral part of the automation lifecycle, which is built in from the very beginning.
Absolutely, and I think that's what's necessary here, given what we've discussed today. So, to close the conversation, if listeners remember only one thing from today's discussion, what would it be? Over to you, Birbal.
Yeah, so I would say ask yourself one simple question. Are we securing the application while leaving the door open through our own automation framework?
Mm-hmm.
We spend a lot of time protecting the front door, right? But very few teams stop to inspect the side entrance. And that's often where the real risk exists. If today's conversation encourages even a few teams to look at their automation framework through security lens, then we have achieved what we set out to do.
Yes, that's a very powerful message there. So thank you, Birbal and Manisha, for sharing your insights and practical experiences on this topic today.
Yeah, it was great to be here.
Yes, it's been a pleasure, Gurpreet.
It's great to have you. And today's discussion reminds us that quality engineering isn't just about speed and coverage. It's also about protecting the systems we build and the tools we use to test them. To our listeners, if you found this episode valuable, share it with your teams and start reviewing your automation frameworks from a security perspective. Until next time, stay secure and keep testing smarter.